everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of Josh Says Mean Things. Not Josh Says Mean Things. Oh my gosh, no. This is Learn Lightroom Live. We're going to be talking about camera calibration and monitor calibration today. Y'all get to take a look over my shoulder and see how many times I can crash my computer today. It'll be real fun. Make sure everybody can hear me out there. Yeah. This is going to be good. Right. Hey everybody. This is going to be Learn Lightroom Live, episode 2. We're going to be talking camera calibration and monitor calibration. We're going to be attempting to do some things. Hopefully computers don't crash as I try to calibrate the monitors I'm on. So we'll start easy with the camera calibration, then we'll go from there. Yeah, let's see if we can, we'll flip over here. Hey Steven, all right, we got one out there. Steven, can you hear me okay? Occasionally the audio doesn't come out from my mic, and I don't know why, but it happened once in the last 5, so I figured I'd go ahead and check. It sounds good in my headphones, but you know, who knows. All right, let's see if we can, yeah. So what's up everybody? Look at us. We're going to be live streaming. We've got some new backgrounds for us. We're using the XSplit VCam. Yeah, so I have 2 cameras today because I want to show you my screen from an angle as it's doing some things here in a little while. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit of an interesting one today. Cool. So hey, all right, good. I'm glad you can hear me. So what we're going to be doing today is talking about calibration. Now, the big question, right, is why is calibration important? Well, if you like to edit your photos, if you like to share your photos, if you like to print your photos, probably a good idea to have your monitors calibrated so that you have a baseline of what to make your edits do. So if you don't know where you're starting, you don't know where to go, right? So if you're flying an airplane and you don't know where you go, if you don't have a compass, how do you know where you're going, right? How do you land the plane? So if we think of calibration, right, is getting all of our instruments fine-tuned so that what our eyes see on our monitor matches what our output's going to be. So that, hey, Ronnie, what's up? Hey. I don't have a chat box up today, so it's going to be a little bit harder for me to do that. I have a lot of things going on. So why is it important, right? So if we base our edits based on what we're seeing, we need to make sure that what we're seeing is accurate. So there's 2 parts to that, right? One is making sure that our camera is capturing the right amount of data and a calibrated amount of data. Secondly, then when we load it onto our screen, that it's showing us the right amount, okay? I tell the story a lot. I have an old Canon 1D Mark III. It's old. And after I calibrated it, I realized that it was 25 units deficient in blue. Well, if you've ever shot a landscape or anything that had the color blue in it, that's a pretty big deal to be 25% deficient in blue. But after calibration, it was there. And so what we're going to be using today is something that I recommend a lot. It is the X-Rite. Ooh, that's going to be blurred out. That's interesting. Put it in front of my face. There we go. X-Rite Color Calibration tool, right? This is the Color Checker Passport 2. It has a gray card on the front Okay. And then on the back side, it has calibration and then another calibration. Okay. And so what this does, these are known targets. And so what's going to happen, I have a camera that I haven't calibrated yet on this newer computer. And it's a Canon 5D Mark III. It's my backup camera, and I haven't calibrated it. And I'm editing some astrophotography, and it needs to be calibrated. And so we're going to do that live. So hopefully it goes well. And then after we do that and walk through that process, then we're going to calibrate our monitors. Now my monitors are calibrated, but what they are not, think about monitor calibration like getting an oil change for your computer. About every, I don't know, 1 to 3 months, you should probably do it again. For instance, hey Kendra, what's up? For instance, I just moved where in my office my monitors are facing, and so the amount of ambient light is different than when I've calibrated them previously, so they need to be updated. And I have an older monitor. I'll show you in a minute. You'll see it over my shoulder here in a second. But my older monitor is it kind of declines quicker. So every time I profile, it falls out of profile faster than my newer monitor. So just think of it as a maintenance and sanity check to make sure that what you're seeing is matching what it should be. Especially because if you're like me, use your computer every day, every other day, you won't notice the changes, and maybe until it's too late, right? Until you get so far out of balance that your photos look really, really bad. So yeah, so that's what we're going to do today. So let me flip over. Let's see if we can do this. Let's flip over to Lightroom. Yay! All right. And if you want to sponsor other things we're doing, patreon.com/Azulux. Thanks to all of our handy dandy followers and supporters there. We appreciate y'all. So yeah, so what are we looking at here? So what we're looking at is a picture I took about an hour ago on the hood of my wife's car of the X Rite Color Checker Passport. I tend to have two profiles. I have a daylight one and a tungsten one. In this case, we're going to do a daylight profile of my Canon 5D Mark III. So what do we need to do? Well, we want to hit our shortcut key D. Ooh, I'm in the wrong screen. There we go. Hit our shortcut key D. That's going to take us into the develop module. Thank you. And I just want to make sure that our white balance is looking about right. Get our exposure about right. Is this one in focus? Yes, it is. Okay, cool. And if you notice right here, it says profile missing. Of course it is missing because we haven't created one yet, which is what we're about to do right now. So it's a very simple process, actually. It is going to require us to restart Lightroom though. So it's simply this, and then I'm going to talk about camera profiles in a second. And so we're going to go to File, Export, and there's software that you would install from X-Rite when you buy the color checker. So for this one, I'm just going to call it Josh 5D3. Cool. And then I'm going to hit Export. And the software is going to scan for this target somewhere in the photo. Yep, there we go. And it says it's generated. Cool. So now we're going to close Lightroom. And then we are going to open Lightroom. And there should be a profile in there. Now, a lot of times Lightroom, you have, in the new Lightroom, for the last year or so now, you've had to go in and star your favorites. Did I not open it? I swear I did. Yep, there we go. Okay, so we should have a new camera profile called Josh 5D3. And so in this profile section right here, let's make this full screen so y'all can see it a little bit easier. Oh, not me, not even full screen. Okay, so we should be in full screen Lightroom now. So it says profile missing. So we want to select the 5D3 profile. And if you notice, it's not in our drop-down list. Oh man, that's a bummer. So what do we need to do? We need to go to Browse, okay, and there it is under Profiles, and we need to star it. So this creates our favorite list, okay. Now if you'll notice, there's a lot of different profiles. Adobe kind of hid um, some new look presets or more artistic presets. So there are some that try to be camera matching, but they really try to hide some. There's a lot of interesting ones in here, in modern especially. I don't really care for the vintage as much, but I like modern 2 and I like modern 4. They just kind of give it a neat look. So if you want to play around and experiment, it's great to come in here. If there's one that you like, just start and it'll add to your drop down list. So in this case, I'm clicking on Josh 5D3, I'm starring it, I'm gonna hit close, and now it's here and it'll always be here in my drop down, okay? And so for this camera now, we can see it there. So let me just click on camera standard. Look at the colors, especially watch this blue, and this blue. And watch what happens when I flip from camera standard to Josh 5D3. See if y'all can see it. Wow, look at the purples, look at the pinks, okay? That's a big difference, okay? Especially somebody like me who uses a lot of color, a lot of gels. I really push color. If we can make our starting point stronger, we don't have to push our files as far. So camera profiles it's the first funnel that your data goes through. And if you build your house on a strong foundation here, your editing is going to be much easier, much easier, okay? So I want to show you an example from actually one of the people watching. Steven and I went out to Colorado Bend this weekend, and the Sunday morning, the Monday morning that we were out, I went and hiked to Gorman Falls. And I just want to show you just how big of a difference those profiles can be, okay? So we were shooting in very extreme conditions, right? Very extreme conditions. Just bright, high contrast. There was a lot going on. So let me show you. So camera standard is Adobe's attempt to mimic your camera standard profile that comes with your Canon cameras. If you shot with a Nikon camera, they would attempt to make a Nikon version of it, okay? So there's other ones like Adobe Standard, right? That's kind of what everything defaults to. There's Adobe Landscape, right? So they have different profile renditions. But what I want you to notice, look at the difference between what Adobe thinks the Canon standard is to what the actual calibrated difference is. Watch the shadows change. Without me touching any of the shadows, watch how much difference there is just in using a camera profile. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Wow, that's like 15 to 20% difference in the shadows. So without having to go into shadow recovery, my shadows already look better. So if I'm already having to do an extreme push, by having it calibrated, it's showing me that there's more data there. So I don't have to push my shadows as far. It gives me a cleaner, higher fidelity image. Okay? Does that make sense? And that's the reason, this is the big reason why. Let me find one that has a lot of sky in it. Let's go back. Let's go back a day. G will take you back to library. Let's take a look at the 5D3, right? This is a camera that doesn't have as much dynamic range as the 5D4, so I think it's even more important. Okay, so let's just take, I was shooting some pretty crazy stuff. Here's just one file. I have done nothing to this, okay? I've done nothing to this. So the first thing we want to take a look at, we'll put it on camera standard. Okay, see how my shadows get real muddled? Okay, my shadows are real muddled in here, real muddled in here. Okay, and so normally what I have to do, I have to bring up the shadows. Well, as I do that, I'm losing image quality, even just a little bit, right? So let's switch from camera standard now. Now that we have a profile, let's see what it changes. Let's see what it looks like. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Wow, look at my skies. That's a huge difference. I don't know if it's showing up on y'all streams, but my skies go kind of washed out to saturated, okay? Now the shadows are still there, and so I still need to raise them up, but it's just giving me a better starting point in my files, and I know that it's right now, and that's the big thing. Now I was making an HDR out of this, so it's a little bit out of whack, but does that make sense now? Does that kind of, right? It makes a big difference to me. It makes a big difference to me. Let me flip over where I can see y'all's comments real quick. And if y'all have camera calibration questions, now would be a good time to ask them. So I see on the chat. So if you have anything on what we did with the camera calibration and how it makes a difference, now would be a good time to ask that. I'm going to flip over to see one more. Let's see if we can make another change here. So I'm going to work on this while y'all type away any questions you might have. So right now we started with profile camera standard to, let's flip it over to Josh 5D3. Okay, yeah, see it's brighter and the blues are more saturated. And so that means I don't have to do as much work in post. And if I don't have to do as much work in post, my image will hold together better. Or I can push it further, right? It's either gonna hold it together better, or I can take it an extra 5 or 10%. And to me, as somebody who's pushing files pretty far, that's a big difference to me. It's why I believe so much in calibrating my cameras. Let's talk about one more reason why to calibrate. Now for me, I have a few cameras. I have a 5D2, I have a 5D3, I have a 5D4. Cool. Now I have a 5D3 calibrated and a 5D4 calibrated on this computer. But more importantly, I shoot weddings for a living, right? So a lot of times every time I shoot a wedding, I have a second shooter with me. So not only do I need to calibrate my cameras, but I need to carry this thing around to get their cameras calibrated as well. And that allows me to match up the colors to a known source versus having Nikon colors and Canon colors. I see that a lot when people are looking to hire second shooters, like, oh, I need a Canon shooter so that, you know, my colors match. Oh, I need a Nikon shooter so that my colors match. I need a Sony shooter so that my Sony colors match. What I'm saying with this is you don't, because we're targeting everything to known color targets. You can match your profiles and base your presets off a known source with the X Rite Color Checker Passport instead of having a wide variety of colors, right? So to me, it neutralizes any manufacturer biases as well. Now, each camera only has the dynamic range that it has, that's true. But setting our colors to a known point really makes a big difference, okay? Yeah, so Stephen, yeah, so to answer that question, yes, we export the X-Rite software. So again, it's just file, export, and then when you install the X-Rite software, it's just in your export menu, and you create just a new profile name. So I might create one for daylight for a camera, and then I might create one for tungsten as well, just because reds and blues are, right, that's 2/3 of the pixels that get used. So again, when you hit export, you just want to check this color checker camera calibration box, and it'll bring this up, and you'll just rename it here. The other thing that's useful is on the backside, there's a big white balance gray card. And one of the rooms that I shoot in the Blanton Museum, it has blue walls. And so the white balance gets very weird very quick. And I carry this in my pocket, and about every 30 minutes I take a shot with this, just so that I can keep up with the changes in white balance as the sun goes down and as the light bounces off less against the blue walls. As the sunlight goes down in that room. It's a very strange room. It's like shooting in a fishbowl. But I use this all the time. So people say, well, why do I need to buy it? I'm only going to use it once. And my point is untrue. I use it all the time. I carry it with me to all my shoots. Whenever I want to make sure that my white balance is my white balance, I use this so that I get color accurate colors. Kendra says, aside from using the camera to take the photo to calibrate the monitor, do you need to do anything with the camera? Like a certain setting or anything to prep the camera to do this? You know, I put it on auto white balance. And I just want to make sure I'm shooting at a pretty decent depth of field, because it kind of sits as a triangle. You don't want to have like the front in focus and the back of it out of focus. So, you know, somewhere like, you know, f4, 5, 6, and that should be sufficient. And you want to try to fill the frame with it as much as possible. I mean, you don't have to use a macro or anything, but you know, probably like a 24 to 70 at 70, a 24 to 105 at 105. It's probably going to be good enough. You just need to fill the frame about 50%. and most lenses will allow you to do that. So, you know, it would make sense to shoot with one of your better lenses. You know, I wouldn't shoot necessarily with a kit lens just because, you know, you're not going to get as much color rendition out of it than you would out of a, you know, nice pro lens. So, you know, I never had that thought though, if you could profile based on different lenses. I know that for a while Sigma lenses had kind of a color cast to them, and so possible. Yeah, you might want to have one for each lens. I never really thought about that until just now, but that is certainly possible. Okay. All right. Good questions though. Good questions, Kendra. Good questions, Steven. Anybody else out there? We have 5 viewers. I'm curious who's out there. 2 are. Okay. Let me pop back over here. So, yeah. So let me just show you that gray part again. Right. This is the part I use a lot. Okay, especially if you're shooting video and you want to get a preset for your camera when you're shooting, makes a big deal. Okay, so that is the X Rite Color Checker Passport 2. The other thing I like about it is it's hard plastic, and it fits in my back pocket very easily. It's something that I can carry around with me and not feel like I'm gonna destroy it. Although we did destroy one because we took it under water and it didn't like that so much. All right. So now this is where the tightrope may fail. And we're going to try to calibrate a screen while we're using the screen. So let's see what happens there. So this is what we call a color spectrometer. Okay. And what this allows us to do is measure the output from the screens. Okay, so what's going to happen, actually let's flip over to, so hey guys, hey, so this is the color spectrometer. Okay, can we see that? And what this is going to do is this is going to sit on my screen right here. Okay, and it's going to measure the output coming out of it. All right. And so that's what this does. That's what this measures. I don't know if you can really see it. There you go. So it's got that. And when you're done with it, you close it to protect it. So this one is the X Rite Color Monkey display. This is an older one, but it still works just fine. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. To do that, X Rite has software called i1 Studio. There we go. All right, so this is the i1 Studio, and I just set it up. We're going to be working with an older one, so this is the one that we're going to choose, and we're going to be working with a display. Okay, so we're going to select our display. In this case, it is this nice, it's my Dell U27. I really like the Dell U series. I've used them for all of my professional career. I think they're a great blend of price and performance. So what is this going to output? So we're going to run through a bunch of tests here, and then it's going to create an ICC profile. Now an ICC profile is just, I don't know, kind of a identification card for colors, right? All right, so let's see if we can remember how to do this. So we're going to create we're going to do it by display settings. We're going to hit next. All right. And then please code. Oh, I did. So we'll plug this back in. All right, we can all still see it. Is it not? Ooh, let's go previous. Maybe I selected the wrong one. Let's do that. Oh, color monkey. I did select it. The wrong one. Display. That one. Next. All right. And so I'm going to want to hang this off the back. Okay, let's flip over there real quick. Let me just show you what I'm doing. So I've hung this over these patches, okay? And then what we're gonna do, we're just gonna hit next. Oop. Yep. got to run a start measurement process. And it's just going to hang right there. And we don't want this to be tilted. We want to have it kind of hung flat. There's a counterweight on the back side. Okay, it's hung nice and flat right over that screen there. And then we're going to hit OK. And hit next. And I was just going to run through a whole bunch of stuff. It's going to test the output here. It's going to measure the contrast. Yeah, and it's going to create a new profile for us. And again, this is something that I do, I don't know, every 1 to 3 months. Sometimes it kind of gives that nagware, right, where it's like, hey, you need to do this. Hey, you need to do this. Hey, you need to do this. And so that can be frustrating. But yeah, it's a good idea. The monitor that you see on my right-hand side over here, it got so far out of balance, like it was like 50% too orange. So that was fun. So what happened here, it said my target white lumens was 120 and it measured 131. So it means my monitor was a little bright. Okay, and that's fine. Okay. Oh, I was supposed to. And then it's just going to run through all of these patches of color. Okay. And again, it's measuring what's bouncing off my screen. Okay. This little device right here is measuring what's bouncing off the screen. And that's why it's important to hold it flat against it so that there isn't any light coming in from the sides. Okay. So if it was loose, if it was hanging loose and it let light leak in from either side, it would affect the measurement. Fun stuff, huh? So you want to be a professional photographer, right? You want to get the most out of your photos. These are the things it takes to get there, right? To make sure now that what we calibrated in our monitor, in our cameras, is showing up in our monitors, right? If we had a bad profile, all that good data that we just made sure was right coming out of our camera wouldn't be displaying. The other good thing about these color spectrometers, right? I have a laptop, I have a desktop, but we also have things like you can run them on like your flat screen TVs, you can run them on your projectors, and so it's nice to give you, to make sure you know that everything you're doing is balanced and calibrated. It's just a nice peace of mind. And so it's going through 118 different patches. Yeah. So pretty exciting stuff, huh? Let's see. Well, yeah. So Stephen, the question is, how would you do it for tungsten, for camera monitoring? I would just shoot it in a tungsten setting, not the camera. I would put the color checker itself in a room that was lit tungsten, because the wavelengths of light are bouncing off differently than they would with daylight. So I would literally just shoot in a room that was, tungsten bulbs. Kendra, would you need a night or low light photography? Would you need a separate profile for that? No, because that's where the tungsten would get you. Night and low light are typically tungsten anyway. And so, no, you would not need to do a separate one, but that's why I think it's good to have a daylight one and a tungsten one. Now, it's not going to be much of a difference, but it could be subtle differences. The differences aren't that big when you do daylight and tungsten. If you do any one, do daylight. But if you do two, do a daylight and a tungsten. Yeah, Steven, yeah, I have mine set to remind me every 3 months as well. Yeah, I agree with that. Like I said, it's just like getting an oil change for your monitors, right? It's just maintenance. Can you go longer than 3,000 miles without getting an oil change? Sure. Would you want to do it, every time? Maybe not. If you happen to go a little while, it's no big deal. But for me, oh, there we go. Measurement completed. So now we can remove this. Ooh, I am using all my USB connections, by the way. I have a mic, 2 webcams, and some other stuff. Okay. So that is done. Put that back in my bag. Okay. And then I need to, cool. So now I have a new profile. And yep, hit save profile. Why is it not letting me hit save? I want it to remind me every, I'm not sure why it won't let me hit save, but you would hit save and then use that. Why is it not letting me save that? Please connect. It's not licensed. Now I have to reconnect this. Ah, okay. Hey, the camera didn't, I mean, everything didn't crash, so at least that's working. Oh, yeah, we're still going. Let's flip over here. Yep, okay, I had to reconnect the device right here. I had to reconnect my Color Monkey, so now I can hit save. It is saved. Okay, great. Okay. And that's it. That's what we have to do. Cool. That's it. Now, I would do it again for my second screen here. You know, I would do it for my second screen, but you saw it once. But I just kind of walk through that process of what it takes to do it. It's a pretty simple, right? It's 5 minutes, and it's just a good maintenance to do, you know, every so often, right? I just think it's something beneficial for everybody to do. Laptops especially. Laptops can get way out of whack. You know, a big question. A big question that we get is, why do my prints come out so wrong? And a lot of time it's because either their camera, but more importantly their monitor, is out of calibration, and so they're not putting any edits, they're not putting any adjustments into their file because maybe their screen is too bright, or the screen is already too contrasty, or it's already too saturated, and so they're not adjusting the actual file. It just looks good from the screen, and then they go to print and it's underexposed and undersaturated. Now sometimes it's print, you know, mismatches or profile mismatches on that side. But yeah, that's probably the number one reason why, is because their monitor wasn't calibrated. MacBooks coming out of the factory are notorious for being like 120% too bright and 120% too saturated, which looks great and it's fun to edit on. But if you're going to make a print from there, it's not what you need. You need, and it's going to look wrong for a little while. You get so used to that pumped in vibrance that the first time you change your monitor, it's going to look dull and flat, but it's going to make your prints look right. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah, Steven. Yeah, most lights are now LED or fluorescent. Yeah, that would all be the same. It's all the same there. Um, yeah, just anything not daylight really. Fluorescent. Kendra, yes, ambient does affect. Now, you know, how much difference does your room change? That's a good question. You know, right now I have a studio light clicked on. I also have windows over my shoulder that I put cardboard in front of as a cheap way to block light coming right over my shoulder. Here, let's see if we can, I'll show you that. So for me, where I sit, cardboard over the windows. And that prevents glare and all that good stuff. Um, and that way I don't have light coming into my monitor. Um, and so that's a big problem for me. It's why you sometimes see monitors with screens, kind of shades on them, so that you can see more accurately. Yeah, yeah, and Stephen, that's a good point. Is that when you're looking through a monitor, the light's coming at you, right? It's coming through the pixels, coming through the glass. Whereas with a print, the light has to hit the ink and then bounce up to you. And so that makes a huge difference as well. In general, most people's monitors are probably a stop brighter than what they're printing. So when they make a print, they're going to look a stop too dark. So if you're going to make a print, you tend to, for most people, if you don't have anything calibrated, you'll want to add a stop, half a stop to a stop of exposure to make it look right for the print. Again, that's why it's so important to get your camera calibrated so that when you go to make those pushes, that the file doesn't fall apart, right? Especially if we're going to make a print at the end. Yeah, cardboard's good, man. Cardboard. I use cardboard for everything. I use white foam core for all my product photography. I use it for beauty portraits. I use the block light on my windows because I don't want glitter coming over my shoulders. Um, yeah, speaking of prints, uh, I have some paper that was given to me that I don't think I'm going to use. So if anybody needs some paper, I may do some kind of giveaway, or whoever asks the best questions, I may send some to. So right now, Stephen and Kendra are in the lead. Ronnie hasn't asked me anything yet. I know she's got questions. Mm. And this week's is Waterloo. Now, I know we were off a day. I normally do this on Tuesdays, but thank y'all for adjusting. We will be doing a Josh Says Mean Things on next Tuesday. So if you're a patron, go ahead and submit a photo, and we'll be doing another image review. Those are always fun. I look forward to seeing. I know it's hard to get out and shoot right now. I've actually been shooting a ton lately. Just kind of weird the way things have worked out. Steve and I did some crazy stuff out at Colorado Bend, and I'm really excited about that. I'm going to be writing a review on a piece of equipment called the Syrup Mini Genie, which did okay. I'm also struggling with creating like structured panoramas from it. Um, anyway, so that's some stuff coming out on the Patreon coming up. Again, if y'all want to subscribe or tell your friends, it's patreon.com/azulocks. We're here to help and educate and help y'all grow. And I'm recording another episode of our podcast. It should be episode 11 tomorrow. That'll be a fun one. Hopefully some names y'all know. And again, if y'all have podcast recommendations, go ahead and send them to me. Oh, Ronnie, you don't have... all right, well, printers on your... Ask Santa for a good printer. Epson just came out with a new P700. But the P600 is also great, and it's the one it replaces. I bet you could find a really good deal on the P600. If not, the Canon 100 or Canon 1000, I can never remember their naming scheme. But man, there's times that they go on sale for like $100, and I know people have printed a whole bunch out of them. Are they the best print in the world? No. Do they make amazing 12-18 prints at a really reasonable price? Yes. Yes, they do. So, you know. Yeah, the Robo Ball head. That's right. Yeah, the Robo Ball head. So, is there any other questions on calibration? Anything that that y'all want to ask about? You know, I don't want to get into print calibration. I don't have anything to do that with anyway. But just there are tools where you can also measure what's coming out of the prints as well. Yeah. Oh, Canon. Yeah, Canon did just come out with a new printer. That's right. I forgot that in their latest release. They just released another printer as well. So yeah, you could probably find good deals on the last gen. You know, the gen that just got replaced. I have a P800. It's technically last generation now, and it's awesome. I make huge prints out of it. So yeah. Anything else we can answer for everybody today? Oh, what should we talk for? What should we talk about? What do you want to know next time we do a Lightroom one? Ooh, also, I don't know if y'all saw the Moab paper, right? That's my mic stand. Is 3 boxes of Moab paper. That's always funny. Yeah. Yeah, you just gotta do the other half now, Steven. You get that camera calibrated, especially on your 5D3. It's gonna make a big difference because you're already pushing it at the edge of, you're already pushing it to the edge of what it can do. Ronnie says, do y'all use these nice printers for regular printing as well? No, not really. I have a like home office printer as well. You can, I mean, you can print regular stuff from it. It's just a really expensive way to do it because it uses a lot of ink, more than a normal like office printer. So yeah, I just have a multifunction printer scanner that I need to print something for my kid's school or something. But I mean, you could in a pinch print regular paper from the big printer, but it might be expensive to do it that way in the long run. So, but yeah, I have in a pinch printed regular paper from it when my other printers are being stupid. I always thought that printers were kind of the stepchildren of the computer family. You can tell it what to do, but it's like you're not my real dad, and so that's kind of not fun. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Stephen, for Astro edits in particular, calibrating, because what did you see change, right? Blues and pinks. What do you capture when you do Astro? Blues and pinks, right? That's a big deal. So yeah, 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 yeah. All right, awesome guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe our YouTube channel here. I know y'all do great with that. Thank y'all for being patrons. I appreciate those of you who are. Yeah, and let's see, anything else coming up? We do, speaking of Astro, we're going to be teaching a Milky Way class at Precision on August 15th. We're going out to Reveille Peak Ranch. The light painting one I think is getting canceled. So if you want to come take a Astro class, the last time to do it until next year is going to be August 15th. So yeah, cool. Find us at precision-camera.com, and you can just search my name and it has a whole list of my classes now. So yeah, anyway, good times. Thanks everybody. And if you have any other questions, message me, email me, get to leave a comment. I'll try to answer them. All right. Well, y'all have a great night, and we'll talk to y'all soon.